Welcome to Our Drummers Musicians, your backstage pass to Melbourne's vibrant music scene. Recorded on a cosy couch in Brunswick, join us as we explore what it truly means to be a musician and speak to the diverse talents that make music in our city. Today we're thrilled to have JT McRae join us on the show. JT is a multi-instrumentalist, producer, musical director and playback technician who has just wrapped up an arena tour playing drums for Gretta Ray. A graduate of Monash University with a Bachelor of Music in Jazz and Contemporary Performance on the drums, JT is not only a skilled performer, but also a sought-after session musician and producer. His career features diverse collaborations with artists like Gretta Ray, Lotte Gallagher, Shannen James, Holy Holy, Allday, Clews, Japanese Wallpaper, George Ellis, and Tones and I. JT's played across venues around Australia, from intimate band rooms to massive stadiums, and boasts an ever-expanding discography of recording credits from his various roles. Proudly endorsed by leading drum brands, JT has quickly established himself as a go-to talent in the industry, not only on drums, but as a producer and recording engineer as well. He maintains a studio space where he also does remote drum tracking and production work. JT embodies the spirit of modern musicianship. He is talented, hardworking, and a great hang. And if you're a fan of Triple J, you may not know his name, but you've definitely heard many of the tracks he's worked on. Join us as we delve into his journey through the music industry, discuss his experiences on the road, and explore his behind-the-scenes roles as well. We want to take a moment to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast was recorded. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Welcome to the podcast, JT.
Thank you for having me. That music's sick.
Oh, thanks very much.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, big compliments coming from you. Well, you just wrapped up the Gretta Ray tour,
Yes.
and I wanted to ask about it. It's going to be a little while until this podcast comes out, but because it's fresh, I thought,
Yeah.
it
Sure.
looked like an exciting experience, and
Yeah.
she's really doing big things.
Yeah, Greta's killing it at the moment. And yeah, that we kind of just had this whirlwind week of like 5 shows back to back, which isn't crazy in terms of like what happens out there in the world, but it was really fun to kind of be playing these big rooms with like Gretta and like the team, and it's really nice just to kind of like share that moment with Gretta and have that experience and opportunity. So yeah, it was real cool.
How did you first get involved with Gretta Ray?
I actually filled in on the gig for another incredible Melbourne drummer, Lee Fisher, because Lee was doing it for many years. And then because Lee is so amazing, it kind of got to the point where he was busy doing other things, and then I just kind of kept filling in. And then he kind of just very kindly kind of handballed it to me as he moved on to other stuff. So
Yeah, cool.
I've been doing the Gretta thing for maybe like two years now, kind of. And it's great team. Obviously, Gretta's incredible. The management's like excellent to work for. Powerhouse management, being Jamie Fowler and Charlotte Reed. And then other people in the band are Gab Strum and Hamish Patrick, who are some local crew, and Stu Willett on sound. And it's great. It's bloody awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen you do a lot of things with Hamish over the years.
Yeah, so Hamish and I have been friends since we were about 14.
Ah.
And we were in bands in high school together, and then somehow just fell into this crazy world of just continuing to be in bands together, and yeah, it's real cute when you think about it, hey? Like, now that we're all, 30 and still doing it, still living the dream or trying to figure out what the dream is,
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Have you guys run a band together other than, playing for other artists?
Like, have we been, like, yeah, we were only as teenagers. We were in like,
Okay.
These Radiohead, Death Cab for Cutie wannabe bands.
Oh.
Yeah, it was real edgy alternative rock. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Very 2011.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it didn't really amount to much, but hey, we had fun, and honestly, that's where we learnt all the skills to, I guess, do what we do now. Really,
Yeah.
or you just learn how to. Yeah, even things like just if you're having a bad gig, you learn how to get through it. And then nowadays I'll work with maybe some younger artists who their first gigs are to thousands of people. And
Yeah.
they're just it's hard to kind of manage sometimes if you haven't had the years of having terrible gigs and all that kind of stuff to
Totally.
nobody. But
I guess that's perhaps part of why you do a lot of this work, because you're having a new artist come through, and so you and the other musicians you work with are really good at supporting them through turning the music that they've just been putting out on the internet as like a single or whatever into an actual
show.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the whole musical director thing that I do, and I really enjoy it. It's really nice to kind of like sit down with an artist and understand like what their vision is, where they're like what their headspace was at when they were writing the songs, how they want it to be portrayed live, and then helping them sort out the show, whether it's like through like production elements and running backing tracks and all that kind of stuff, or just like finding the right people to play in the band for them, or like figuring out like staging movements or lighting directions and all that kind of stuff. Just like trying to create a world, essentially. So that's it's a part of my job that I really, really enjoy these days.
Is that something new that you've been doing, or have you been doing this for quite a while?
No, I've been doing this for quite some time. Like, yeah, probably the last better part of the last 10 years. But I guess like I've just been doing it for more and more people that other people are aware of. I get I've landed more prestigious kind of jobs lately doing that kind of stuff, which is great. It's it's one of the regions where like musicality kind of comes into it. It's fun. It's nice to kind of take a step back sometimes from just purely playing drums.
Yes,
and have to have a bigger picture and understand how all the different parts kind of fit together to make the show. And like in that, it like essentially, I will write or create or devise parts for the guitarist, for the bass player, for the keyboard player, whatever. So then also through that, I will kind of know the parts for the show as well.
Yes.
So it's funny. You kind of learn the whole show at once, which is it's fun.
I guess it's one of those things where it's a behind the scenes role. So it's easy to see when you've made a post about playing drums on a tour, like the one we were just chatting about, but we don't see as much the all of that work of people who are working like side of stage. Totally. So that's like with Tones and I've lately been doing some playback tech work for Tones. So I'm that person side of stage that's just running the tracks and making sure that the show's paced smoothly and just responding to whatever Tones may be talking about on stage. But then there'll be other times where I will also be on stage, like with Gretta, and I'll be running the tracks and playing drums at the same time. And it's very funny. Doing the stuff where I'm not playing an instrument and running tracks makes me appreciate how much more time you just kind of have like during a gig, just to like relax and like be able to take in your surroundings and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Whereas often playing whilst trying to run tracks, it's just the whole gig just happens. It happens and it's gone, and you're like, woo, we got through it.
Well, could you explain what running tracks means for someone who might know?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I guess a lot of artists these days are playing with backing tracks live, be it for sounds off the album or the songs, whatever that they couldn't replicate live because it's gone through so many layers of manipulation, or maybe they recorded a string orchestra and you can't tour a 100-piece string orchestra very easily or very cheaply. So often there'll be tracks running that, and my job therefore is to kind of just like build that file out. Often it's done in Ableton. So build out the Ableton session, or be given the Ableton session, and then just make sure it's all routed properly for audio stuff at the show. If there's things like time code in it for the lights, make sure your lighting guy or your lighting tech is seeing time code, and then it's essentially just pressing like start, stop, and it's a very simple explanation of it. And there's a lot more fun things you can do with it, but that's basically it. It's just kind of like to help support the artist in ways that either physically or budget wise they cannot. cover themselves.
Yep.
You know? Yeah, it's fun. I really love that world. And there's so many fun things you can do with it in regards to like automating sound changes of like either keyboard stuff or like samples or, you know, on the crazy stuff you can like run MIDI through everything and change guitar pedals and keyboard sounds at the same time and all that kind of stuff. You know, you can get real nerdy with it. It's a real nerdy part of my being, and I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was making me think. I had this other podcast guest on, Tim Mellis, and he has this role as a surtitleist for the opera.
Wow.
Which I didn't know anything about.
What's that?
But most simply, it was the person that puts the subtitles of the opera up. But it's not just as simple as they're going up. He has to read the score and follow the conductor and follow the singer to make sure that, you know, the translations are coming up at the right time so it doesn't ruin the comedic moment or the impactful thing. Yeah. And it's quite similarly related to your role in that it's like, oh, okay, there's like a technical thing happening. But you've got to be very musically minded and understand what's going on. And reacting to live. It's not just as simple as press play and then at the end of the set, you know,
definitely
pack it up.
And like, you know, I was just thinking about this the other day because I was at a sound check for a Tones and I show that I did recently, and the choir needed, because Tones has a choir that she brings with her on stage, and they needed a different cue in their ear for something. Like they just needed a different count so that they could come in on the one. But like, it was not as simple as just putting a count in for them to come on the one, because they actually were meant to come in on like beat 4 and, so I had to like set up the cue in such a way that it was like, it wasn't just putting a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, like had to, you know, be aware of the musical situation and then be able to massage the technology to work in that regard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, that would be really cool doing all the, what are the surtitles? Yeah. That'd be fun. Imagine though, like, you give away the pun of the joke too early. Like, that's so high stress. I'd be so stressed doing that. More so than running tracks. I'd be like, oh no.
I don't know. I feel like if you drop the beat, like in the middle of like someone talking.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, I'm going to listen to that episode.
Yeah. Tim Mellis. It's
awesome.
Just like, you know, it's so nice to sit chatting with people like this where it's like, oh, I'm just learning about like new worlds. And oh, I know a little bit about something, but like, what's it actually like, or what goes into it? And it's been so interesting.
Great.
If we go back like right to the start.
Yes.
Because I know you from when we were hanging out doing a jazz degree together.
We're at uni together,
and, you know, I thought like, why don't we get into like, how did you actually first start playing?
Oh, yeah, okay.
And, you know, you play lots of different instruments.
I pretend to, yep. No, I can make noise on multiple different instruments, yep.
Yeah, well, I see you playing stuff all the time, especially like guitar and, you know, some synth work.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're a humble guy.
I'm a humble guy with imposter syndrome. So I'm sure we all do to some degree at the moment. But
so did it start with drums? Because I think your dad played drums too?
Yeah, my dad plays drums. It actually started on piano when I was about 5 or 6. And that's when, my mum started teaching me piano then. And then I moved on and had some teachers and stuff. I never really did like the whole, you know, classical grading kind of world. It never really appealed to me so much, but I had this great teacher. His name's Mark McGurgan. I don't really know where he's at the moment, but he was great with kids, and he made kids excited about music and excited about playing just by getting them playing a song as soon as possible, rather than, you know, like focusing on like specific technique stuff or you know, then those gaps would be filled in later. But he created like this love for music, and then that turned into knowledge of scales and chords and basic chordal theory and how keys work, you know? Yes, that's kind of where I started, and I just really played piano until I was like, you know, 12, 13, and that's when I picked up drumsticks properly. Like I used to, like you said, my dad was a drummer, and we had a kit at home, so I used to give it a bang all the time. But it wasn't until about like high school that I started playing properly and had lessons through high school. And then, you know, through high school, picked up the guitar as well, and got my first MacBook and started, you know, like trying to just record basic stuff and writing songs and being in bands and kind of really getting this like, overview of like making music, which is really, really nice rather than just like playing one instrument. Do you know what I mean? Like it was kind of really, I don't know, I'm really grateful that I kind of had that drive as a teenager to kind of get into that world because it's so much of what I do these days, like in terms of recording multiple instruments or the musical, directing stuff that I was talking about before, like just creating sonic worlds. And then ended up going to uni with yourself and playing some Yaz drums. And
well, why did you do that? Like, because it's so different from this style of I actually want to play music or I like do the thing I love. And
why did I go to uni to play drums? I think because I just wanted to play drums. And I knew where I wanted to be, like later on in life, work-wise. And I was like, there's no set uni course to get there, to be a session muso, to be a studio musician, to be an engineer, producer, whatever. Or at least at that point there wasn't. There's probably more so these days. And I was like, okay, I'll just learn how to play drums, hopefully well. And, then just continue from there and just try work hard and meet people and be in the right situations and stuff like that. I don't know why I studied. I just studied drums. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I was like, well, I'll just do this. I love drums. I think the original plan was to do that and then probably do like a master's of teaching or a dip ed or whatever afterwards and become a high school teacher, which haven't had to do yet. Haven't had to do it yet. I've been able to put that off for a while. So,
well, it's good. Like you're clearly super talented and very sought after. Like I don't know if it's necessarily just something you're putting off. Like I think you're really making like a space for you.
Thanks. That's it's nice to hear because sometimes you kind of lose sight of that in the crazy world that we work in. There's part of me that completely understands that I won't be able to tour forever. So, I'll have to figure out whatever the next step is, when the next step is. But, very lucky to be able to to play music for work, record music for work. Like, dude, it's the bloody dream.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the absolute dream. And then, like, I'm so thankful for, like, to everybody that's helped me get here and all that kind of stuff. And, you wake up feeling very lucky. Even when it's a 4 a.m. lobby call to fly to somewhere ridiculous or whatever, you're like, hey, I'm playing music today for work. That's pretty good.
Well, so what was the path like? Like there's so many people that do a music degree and then go on to do different things like the teaching thing that you spoke about, or they just did it for a period of time. Yeah. What was the journey like for you post finishing the degree and then actually, getting hired to play rather than someone just in the band scene, I suppose, but then needed to do other things for work.
Other stuff. So it kind of started for me almost through Monash. Like, do you remember Danny Finkelstein?
Mm-hmm.
So Danny was playing with this artist.
He's just moved to
Nashville?
To Nashville, yeah.
Yeah, good on him. Good on him. Danny was playing with this artist called Lee Dallymore, who now works under the name Floozy, and I'm real good friends with Lee, but I'll get there. So Danny was working with Lee, and Lee had this tour coming up, and Danny was like, hey, to me, hey, JT, I can't do it. Can you do it? I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And Lee wasn't making any money, so therefore wasn't really paying me anything, and it was like, first tour ever, we were sleeping in like a camper van that Lee hired to like drive us around. It was about 10 shows around the country, and it was the fucking best time. Sorry, I just swore. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. It was the best time and first tour, and it was great. But through that, I met somebody from Sydney whose name's Ross James, he's a producer and a musical director and great human being. And I think Ross just kind of saw me as a young kid that was trying to get into it and work hard and wanted to be there and was asking people questions and trying to find out stuff. And then Ross just started kind of farming workout to me, which was really, really nice. And then that kind of happened for about a year, and I was still wrapping up uni stuff. And then after uni, I just went into like working at a drum store and doing gigs on the side, and just slowly building up the amount of work that I've done, and the people that I'd work for. And it kind of got to a point where it was like, I probably didn't have enough work to go full time, but made that jump because it was kind of like now or never. Like if I was just like, if I don't try and just do this now, as like a 24-year-old thinking that you're old, you know, like, oh, I'm so old. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. You know, it just went full-time music, and it was kind of like the world became aware that I had all this time in my hands, and I just got real lucky. And just stuff just kept falling into my lap. I think I'm downplaying the amount of work that I was trying to do, but I just tried to make sure that every time I worked with somebody new, be it as just a session player, as a drummer or whatever, or as a musical director, I just tried to make sure that I was a nice person to work with, somebody that made them feel comfortable and did a good job and was grateful and matched the vibe of the hang. Yeah, and it's just kind of grown from there.
Where do you think that, like, if we title all those qualities as like professionalism, where do you think that came from for you? Is that something you've always had, or that you were deliberate about, I really want to instill these qualities because it will help me? It's kind of funny. I used to have conversations with some of the drum teachers at uni, being like, I don't want to be the best drummer in the world, but I want to be the guy that people book because they make you feel comfortable. So that was always kind of a thing for me, and I think I maybe got that from honestly from my dad, and dad being like the first drummer that I ever met, and dad just always being like, it's not about the crazy stuff, like, just sit there and go like, and just make it feel good, make it feel comfortable. Yep.
Create the space for other people. Which is, something I like to try and do both musically and I guess socially, in terms of like allowing, people space in the room and to feel welcome and included and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think maybe just part of just maybe hopefully who I am overall. And then I don't know, work ethic. I think it's more so, it's like my hyper focus. It's like it's my thing, playing music. So it's like, didn't always feel like work. So I was just like, I'll do whatever and just grind away at it and hopefully get there in the end. And does that kind of cool. Okay,
yeah, it does.
Cool. I kind of lost track of what I was going halfway through. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was thinking, it's interesting how you're saying that you wanted to be like a session drummer, and back in like the 60s and 70s, you had like labels that had like a house drummer.
Yeah, team.
Is part of the work that you've done as like a producer and engineer and stuff, just sort of filling out in the modern era, we don't have that purist session drummer role, I suppose. To like, expand out the things you can do.
Definitely. I feel like, if you're kind of coming into this game with only one skill, and this game being trying to work as a full-time musician, it's going to be probably harder to find work than it is to be able to, if you have some breadth. And honestly, I think the best thing I ever did for myself was learning how to use Ableton and other like DAW recording software, but mainly Ableton just because of like the backing track world and doing the MD work and playback stuff. And then from there, then there's Skillshare that then passes over into production and engineering and recording and things like that. I think people, I think sometimes people get caught up on like trying to be the best musically or technically or whatever. And I find more of this life is about being a person that people want to hang out with and like have on tour and making sure that you add value in different ways. And it's, just being like a more well-rounded person, I find has always helped people pick up more jobs and things like that. Even, just looking at myself, like especially post COVID, when everything shut down during COVID, and then coming back from COVID, a lot of the work I have done has not been playing drums. It's been either playing guitar or keyboards for people, or just like even just being a stage tech, and setting up stuff. And I was working for this American artist called Masego, and it was just I set up a 20-piece drum kit every night and then ran tracks, and that was the job, But it was a great tour to be on, because everybody was a great hang, and it was fun, and like it was a real nice kind of community. And even in those moments, like musically, you have to understand why the drum kit is being set up that way, and like tuning it, and working with your front of house like tech to make sure that the drums sound good through a huge PA, not just like through your ears standing next to the kit, because it's two very different things. So I kind of find that, the more breadth that people have, the more luck you'll kind of have in the world, and be able to fill out different roles and stuff like that.
Well, it's quite interesting that you just bring so many different, like, you use the phrase like musicality.
Yeah.
Like you've played so many different instruments, and you studied in so many different types of music and different scenes. I don't know. I guess it's just like the breadth of your life experience that you're, I don't know, quite talented and hardworking. So you're able to just draw on these different experiences to help you in all these different roles that, may or may not be like the actual playing the instrument one.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's a real nice kind of way to try and approach life, by just like taking in as much as you can, and figuring out what you can give back from that, or what I can pass on to the next person from something new that I've just learned, or be it music, or just, I don't know, emotional intelligence, maybe, for lack of a different word, or just like stories, or quote unquote wisdom, or just trying to like share and teach and grow together with everybody.
So the things that you're most excited about working on, for the rest of this year, is it the young artist thing that you're enjoying the most, or, perhaps all these different more technical roles like the musical direction roles, or the track stuff? Yeah. I don't know. What are you feeling most passionate about at the moment?
What am I feeling most passionate about at the moment? I've actually kind of really been, it's kind of a more me-centric thing, but I've just been really into just recording drums lately, and just kind of really trying to like grow my skill set in that area at the moment. I had like we were talking about before, probably off mic, I have a studio in Collingwood, and from there I do a lot of remote drum recordings for people. So they send me the files, I record the stuff to it, I send it back to them, do any notes if there are notes. But it's been really fun lately, just trying to set myself challenges in terms of like hearing a song and being like, cool, how do I get that drum sound? Like, how do I recreate that? That's been a thing I've been really enjoying at the moment, and I'll probably do it for the rest of the year. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
And hopefully through that, just grow my ears and grow my engineering skills and things like that. But otherwise, like working with young artists, like you mentioned Lotte Gallagher before. Lotte is an incredible writer. She's still, I think, only 17. She has been, was kind of picked up by Triple J last year. And just great writer. And I've been kind of, I played. So the way I met Lotte was I played drums on her EP that I believe is coming out this year, through a producer called Oscar Dawson, who also is in Holy Holy. And then from that, I kind of worked with her management before, and her manager brought me in to kind of help MD her and get just some kind of live show together for her up and running. So it's very rocky kind of music, but they don't have tons of budget. So we did have to do some tracks and just make it try and feel as natural and as normal and as organic, I guess, to Lotte as possible. And there's a great drummer playing on that called Stan Nicholson, he's a young gun. He's like maybe 18, 19. It's kind of his first kind of gig, and it's just been really nice to try and pass over any kind of wisdom or experience I have to someone younger who you almost see a little bit of yourself in. Like I see a little bit of my younger self in it, trying to just like figure out what are gigs, how do I play, a show, and I quite like working with young artists and help develop them and just bring people into the world of, hey, you have the power to do a show. There's so much, empowerment and like not necessarily responsibility, but like it's your world. Like, what do you want? Like, I don't know, what is it? It's like, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. What do you want, and how do we make that happen?
Yep.
It's real cool. Yeah, I really, really like doing that at the moment.
Oh, how special that you get to like, have these opportunities with the young musos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real nice. Yeah, because like I don't know. At the end of the day, like, why do we do this? We do this because we love it and we want to share something. So like, if I can help facilitate somebody else having the ability and the opportunity to share their art and all that kind of stuff, like that's great. Yeah, real into it.
Is there anything that you're doing that is like original music of yours, JT?
I was writing stuff and trying to release it for like 2019, 2020, and then the whole world shut down, and then I kind of really didn't come back to it. I do like songwriting sessions with people, and I do production for other people. So there's like, an element of myself creatively that's being, passed on to that. But no, not really. I don't really have any original bands or projects at the moment. Maybe I'll come back to it. Who knows? It's just another thing where it's like, I have to put so much time and energy into it. And then also things like, I don't know, it's very hard these days. And I tip my hat to any artists that are out there just doing it, because I think they have something that I don't. I'm more than capable of helping them out and helping them get their idea there, but I don't know if I'm capable of having that kind of relentless drive and self-belief that I see so many of these people have to like kind of put music out.
Yep.
And just go for it. Like it's so impressive to watch. So hat off and big claps to anybody doing it. Maybe I'll get there again. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. We were chatting with Danny Ferrugia about, being a session drummer.
Yeah.
And, I don't have to do the press tour, or I don't have to worry about the finances of this.
100%.
It's like all those practical things of, the barriers, I suppose, to it's not just writing a song.
It's not just writing a song. And like, looping back to where we started this, which was talking about this recent Gretta tour that I did, that was 5-6 days in a row, but not just playing shows. Gretta was, having to go to press stuff throughout the day, was having to go to sound check with the other artists because she was featuring one song, was getting called into a label for random meetings, which turned out to be a really nice thing. She got a plaque for something. But, like big chunk of a day is all of a sudden taken up, and she has to make sure that she's posting content and engaging with the content and getting the photos from the night before and approving them to go up, and it's just like, I can just chill in my hotel and play paradiddles for a couple of hours and then go to lobby call, go to the venue, set it all up, play the show, pack it up, get out of there. Whereas Gretta will probably go to merch and, take photos with people. And it's just, I don't think people, like the general public, I don't think they always understand just how much their favorite artists are constantly working. And it's just, they're always on. It's very rare that I see artists get mental downtime, up until a point, especially when you're trying to build your thing and trying to get it up off the ground. It's just, it's a grind, and full respect to the people out there doing that grind.
Well, you mentioned content stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, because you've got a killer Instagram page.
Oh, yeah.
And you're always posting cool stuff, like whether it be like, check out this idea I'm trying.
Yeah.
I've got this new mic position.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
How much does that play into, I suppose, what you're doing professionally? Like, is it just like a fun side outlet, or is it part of like the modern industry where you're like, I just have to keep putting it out there because maybe someone will see the post and then, it'll flow on from the next gig if I don't get...
You sound like my internal monologue right
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No. It's good. It's, I think it is just part of the modern era where you just have to do that to get work. And it's a thing that I battle with. I go through stages of being like, you know what, I'm going to be a content king this month and I'm going to do videos and all that kind of stuff. And then I just kind of reach a point where I feel dead inside because I'm like, I've spent more time editing a video than I have editing audio. And, you know, but you just got to roll with it. And I've been trying to find my own way to it. Which is through this, let's call it a series that I've dubbed Tone Chase Tuesdays, which is just me, like I was talking about before, just trying to reproduce drum sounds from different records.
Yep.
And the best part about it is not the video, not the video at the ends. The best part about it is the process of just being in the studio and just creating a mess and being like, you know what, I'm going to try this mic here. You know what, I'm going to try this mic here. You know what, I'm going to move that mic an inch, see what it does.
Mm-hmm.
And just the skills that I've picked up through that and the noticing changes in how my ears work and things like that. That's been the best part for me. Sure, there's a fun video that I get to post at the end of the day that hopefully then turns into work. Some of them have, which is great. So it's nice to kind of see it working. And I think that is kind of how the general world is moving these days. But yeah, I think you got to do content. I just think you have to do it somehow. Find your way to it and do whatever you can do in it that helps sell yourself. Because I think it's just how the world works at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. Do you post much content? You don't really, do you?
Not really.
No.
It's like a big, I don't know, dilemma I have with this podcast.
Yeah.
Is that like the idea is just for me to be able to talk to people like you and catch up and, you know, hear about what you've been doing. And, you know, maybe there's a few people that also want to hear about some different stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spend all my time on Instagram or you're making video. That's why we're not filming the podcast. Like, I don't want to spend the time doing that.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have capacity for all of it.
100%. The people that do have capacity, I'm like, you're different. You're born different. Good on you. Can I have some? Like,
My sister, honestly, is amazing.
Yeah.
I should throw out a plug to Jessie because she's grown her wedding singer
great
Instagram page from 3,000 to 60,000 followers in the last like 6 months.
That's incredible.
It is. And she's just like one of those like grinders. She knows the social media thing. Yeah. She's really good at it. Yeah. And, you know, hopefully it definitely translates into work as a wedding singer for her. Hopefully, you know, it'll flow across to her Sydney profile as well. It
could also, you know, like having those skill sets, because I think the skill set to grow an account from whatever to 60,000, that's not a skill I have. I don't know how to do that.
No.
I'd try it and I'd be like our parents when we were teenagers, and our parents would try to say a cool word and you'd look at your parents and be like, Mum, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like I would be the parent in that regard, you know? Sometimes I think I am with the way that I use social media. I have no idea what I'm doing. So it's like, well done, because it's hard. And, you know, like weddings are great gigs. I still work in a wedding band called Isaiah with, actually people that we went to uni with, Angus Radley, Greg Scher, Daniel Mugerman, actually, Esther Henderson used to play in it, Ari Wenig used to play in it, Matt Hayes from Monash also used to play in it, and then there's Zach Blum is the guitarist and one of the singers, and he's great. And yeah, weddings are great gigs. Like, I mean, I would retire and just play weddings. That would be amazing if an option, you know? You just get to hang out, play some fun music with your friends, have some food, have a drink, bring love and joy to the world for somebody. It's great.
I felt so conflicted when we were at uni and I started getting booked for wedding gigs. Like I did a lot of playing with the White Tree for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like we'd come and, you know, it'll be like, oh, what did you get up to this week? And, you know, it'd be like, oh, I was like, you know, touring with Delta Goodrum, and I was on the road with Pete Murray, and I'm like, oh, I was doing like, you know, second year music theory at Monash.
I was learning how to sing solfege.
yeah. But it was wild because I was having an awesome time playing with great musos, and it's fun, and you get to hang out, and people still dance. But then at art school, it was like, no, like you should be pursuing the like technical excellence and creativity. Like that's not music.
I really struggled with that part of tertiary musical education. the quote unquote jazz police, you know.
Mm.
But I think, you know, I got a lot from still going to uni, as I'm sure you did too.
Definitely.
But it was that, you know, I find you do learn more on the gig, just in terms of you can you know, be very cerebral about it at uni and you know, think about things academically, but you don't really learn what to do until you're in the moment of being like, oh, I don't know how to approach this in the moment at the gig, and then you just figure it out. Or if you're lucky, you have somebody else on the gig who kind of sees you going through that, and you know, just creates a vibe and the space for you to fall safely, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never done any White Tree gigs. Are they good?
Yeah, I found them
Great.
to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think like as long as you're playing a wedding with good people, well, I have a great time. I know weddings aren't for everybody, but with me, I found that the musicians there, that agency, have been, you know, really incredible.
Really good.
I just got in because I was lucky to get a recommendation from Owen Downey. And Andy Fissenden had gone on tour with Guy Sebastian.
Oh, great.
So I got all of Andy's wedding gigs.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
And, you know, I was 20 and it was like, this is awesome. So now I can be like a go-to fill-in guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when someone goes away.
That's awesome.
I've met so many great people and
great.
Yeah, I feel very lucky to have done that.
I feel like, I'm keen to hear how you feel about this as well. I feel like being a good person and a great hang is more important than, you know, playing, your ability to play. Especially in gigs when you're walking in as a fill-in.
Yeah.
You know, like, we can't walk into a room and without playing a note win anybody over on our playing ability, you know, but you can walk into a room and meet the rest of the band for the first time. And in, you know, that first 10 seconds, they'll either kind of like you and want to welcome you, or they'll be like, oh, this will be a gig with the Dep. All right, cool. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
You know, so I think it's very important to have like, to be a good hang on a gig and to like, you know, ask questions about people before you ask questions about music sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Especially, in those scenarios when you're walking in to fill in for somebody.
Yeah. Well, I reckon you're on another level and you probably could play like a bar and people would be like, oh yeah, that's a good groove.
Not at all. No, dude, you're too nice. You're too nice. Thank you.
Well, I
feel like I'm hanging on half the time. Honestly, man. I'm like, I'm glad my hang is all right because I'm crap at drums.
No, it's definitely the thing though. I think of, I don't know if you've seen that meme where it's like the two drummers. They're like the drummer that can play like all the notes and the drummer that can just play like Michael Jackson's Billie Jean.
Yeah.
Like that's like, if you can just hold down the like solid stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like it takes skill and hard work to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're an amazing player but not great to hang out with, I would totally agree that I would much rather be playing shows with people that it's fun to be with and play with.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, of like a certain level.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you spend so much downtime with the other musicians, like especially like you when you're on a tour where it's like, oh, okay, Gretta's off doing all the press stuff, but I'm hanging out with the band for a week.
Yeah, literally. Which, like, you know, in that regard, the Gretta band is two of like my two closest friends in the world, probably. So that's really, really nice. But yeah, then there's other times like, you know, this Tones and I crew I'm pretty new to, and my first gig was at Margaret Court Arena to thousands of people, and I was just kind of like, hi, cool, I don't really know anybody's name yet, but cool, the show's starting, great, all right, let's figure it out. And then it was just building relationships with people and just making sure that, you know, you're like, I'm the new guy, I may need a little bit of help just understanding the lay of the land. I know what I'm doing with my job, but like, here I am. I want to meet you. I want to, you know, get to know you so we can have a good time on this thing together.
Yeah.
It's, I think it's a real important skill to kind of have. And it's one of the things that they don't really teach you in uni. They teach you how to do, like, play your instrument well. But yeah, just being a good person and, knowing how to be around people and knowing how to not take up space or when to take up space, you know, all that kind of thing. It's I don't know, it's something else just that you got to focus on.
Yeah. Well, we've been playing this game on the podcast.
Yeah, okay.
Where each guest asks a question of the next guest.
Okay.
So I've got a question for you.
Oh, damn, okay.
From Aaron Shembry.
Okay.
Is guitarist with Ross Wilson
Okay.
and the Wiggles.
Cool.
The anonymous guest. What makes you keep doing what you do musically?
Wow. Very philosophical, very, very deep. You know what? I go through different mindsets about this, and sometimes I think it's because I just don't know what else I would do. I don't know what else I would love as much as like doing this job. And like it's a great job. It's very hard. You have to work so hard, and there's never really any security, and you just kind of have to keep going and put your faith in it. And the reason you keep going is just because I truly believe that anybody doing this absolutely loves it to the point that they couldn't do anything else. And then not only that, you know, you're out there, you're creating moments for people, be it in the studio or be it at a show. Like you are creating a moment in time that someone will have an emotional memory attached to, you know. Everybody remembers their first concert that they went to. Everybody remembers, you know, like the first record that they bought, or even just like writing a song and getting part of your song that you've written stuck in somebody's head. Like that's amazing. Like, you know, I don't think people write songs with the end goal of getting it stuck in somebody's head necessarily. Like it's you know, self-expression, and people write songs because they have something to say, and that's great to be able to share that. But yeah, I think that's why we just kind of keep going. That's why I keep going, just to constantly be around these people that I find so beautiful and interesting, and emotionally in tune with themselves and with the world, and you know, wanting to create art, really, for want of a better word, I guess. Yeah, I hope that's not too much of a whimsical answer. Why would you like? Why do you keep doing it?
I don't know. Well, I'm a little bit different in that I think in about 2018, I took a gig in the States. Yeah. Playing drums on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And I had a month of rehearsals in Miami. Yeah. And then I was meant to be on the ship for a while. And that was my year of, I quit all my teaching gigs. Yeah. And went, I don't want to teach. I really don't enjoy this. I don't find it very fulfilling. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to spend a year just playing drums for money. Yeah. And, you know, really spend that year going, all right, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Yeah. And I got injured on the cruise ship. This massive thorn went through my foot when I was walking on one of these tiny little islands. Oh, damn. And like, a very long story, but the whole thing was a nightmare. And so like 6 weeks later, after like surgery and all this stuff, I came back home. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, this feels like a really big no to like, like, am I meant to be doing drums? And so, you know, I went back to uni and I was doing some study, and then I got really sick with COVID and I haven't been able to work for a couple of years. Yeah, okay. So I think for me, I found I need to be doing something musically. Yeah. But I don't have the same drive, I think, as you, where you're like, I think this is what it is for me. Yeah. Whereas I think I found that I really love the hang, and I love being able to play with great musos and make good music. But I still get enjoyment out of a few other things. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry, I know it's taking a slight different turn from what you were expecting, but I think you know, like, I still love playing, but I don't have the commitment to go, all right, well, that's all I'm going to do. I think I still have fun when I get to play sessions and come in and do some stuff. Yeah. But also I enjoy not having to take a string of music theatre shows because I needed work that week. Yeah, sure. And I mean, like, there are times where I will do the money gigs. The gigs I'm not getting... You know, there's like a triangle. I find there's a triangle where it's like there's three options at a gig. It's either good music, good people, or good money, and you would mostly only ever get two of them at once. You know what I mean? Mm. And so there'll be times where I take a gig that's maybe only got the good money triangle, and that they're hard. And you're right. Like, sometimes I question whether I have the ability to keep doing that. You know, it's
it's funny. You mentioned my drive. I don't know if I have drive. Maybe I'm just stuck on the horse that bolted. You know, and like it's still running. I know to get tired and stop at one point, but for now I'm, just like, oh, okay, we'll keep going with the horse.
Just white knuckling it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to white knuckle it than it is to try and rein this horse in. But like I say that, pretty tongue in cheek. I don't want to seem ungrateful because like I'm very grateful for every opportunity I've ever had and being in this position. But I think it kind of maybe speaks to a bigger thing of burnout that is like really happening in the industry at the moment, or just oversaturation. And I like it. The Australian music industry at the moment is very different to the one I was working in. Maybe like, I guess pre-COVID is probably the easiest way of saying it. 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
Like even just a bunch of festivals are being cancelled, bunch of shows are being cancelled. People's tours have gone from maybe being like 12 to 15 shows all around the country to being Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, because that's all they can afford to do. Like there's not a lot of money left in it. Most of the great musicians in Australia are looking at moving overseas. I know a lot of my friends are moving to LA. People moving like London as well. Gretta's moving to London. It's kind of dire times, and I think the ability for someone such as yourself to be able to like still find your piece in that and like just be a facilitator essentially and create this space for people to come in and talk is like, that's awesome. Like when you hit me up, I was like, hell yeah, I want to be on this. This is so good. Like this is why we do music, because we meet people like this that want to share and create stuff with people. Like I think it's a really kind of nice way to still kind of be involved with it.
Oh, well, thank you.
No, dude, thank you for having me.
What question would you like to ask the next guest?
Oof. Wow. Okay. Maybe I would like to know what musical moment formed your current musical identity.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know who the next guest is, so
No, that's the game.
yeah, I know that's the game. That's kind of fun. But whoever you are, next guest, what musical moment formed your current musical identity? And I think musical identities change and shift over time. But yeah, I will be listening.
We'll have to get you back on to answer the question yourself.
Yeah, don't do that. No.
All right. Well, just to wrap up, 5 quick answer questions.
All right. Cool.
What's your favorite venue to play in Melbourne?
The Forum.
What is your dream venue to play at?
Royal Albert Hall.
What is your coffee order?
Cold brew mostly. Batch brew sometimes, but I mostly go cold brew.
Best place for food in Melbourne after a show?
After a show, Butcher's Dine in the city is pretty good if you're ever playing around there. Otherwise, I don't know, anywhere on Brunswick Street or Smith Street. It's good options there.
And what is the favorite instrument that you own?
That I own?
Yeah.
My favorite instrument that I own.
Or piece of technical gear.
Or piece of
because
technical
you
gear.
do recording.
I have like this old Ludwig kit. It's a 65, just downbeat. So 12-inch rack tom, 14-inch floor tom, 20-inch bass drum. It's beautiful. I've maybe had it for about 10 years, and I don't like. I've had a lot of vintage kits that I've played for a year and flipped, and bought a new one and sold it. And I don't think I'll ever sell this one. There's just something about it. I don't know. It was also like the first like vintage kit that I bought. That, and I also have an acrylite snare from the same period, and that's great. But other than that, I think it's this guitar that I have. It's a 1967 like Hagstrom Viking. It's like the guitar that Elvis played.
Oh.
And it's like so crap, but so good. Like, a bridge that doesn't really intonate properly, a super thin neck that I'm worried I'm going to break just by picking it up, and like the nuts kind of a little bit squonked. But it sounds so good, and it feels so good to play. Yeah. So that'd probably be my 2 answers.
Yeah, nice.
But if I thought about it, I could just keep going. I'm just a bit of a nerd. I'm like, oh, I love this for this, and I love this for this, and this microphone, and
It's hard to narrow it down.
It's hard to narrow it down. I struggle with the questions that are, who are your favorite? I'm like, I don't know, everybody.
Oh, well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, JT.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, and you're an amazing musician.
Thank you.
An awesome hang. So
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with me on the pod.
Do my absolute pleasure.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us on Our Drummers Musicians. I hope you enjoyed getting to know another Melbourne muso like I did. Help us grow by leaving a review, share the podcast with friends and family, and subscribe on our website for extra info. Got a guest you'd love to hear on the show? Please let us know at ourdrummersmusicians.com. See you next time.